Hey guys, this is Rob Havenstein, and don't miss our interview with Jackie and Vince at OnPoint Live.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining On Point with Vince Ferragamo and myself, Jackie Slater. Vince Ferragamo, as you know, led us to the lone Super Bowl that we went to, Super Bowl 14. Didn't quite win it, but he took us there. Great job, Vinny. And then I was one of the guys that was trying to keep him upright most of that year. So thanks for joining us. And, we're delighted, guys. We always talk about the skill guys running around, catching the football, making dazzling plays and all of that. But we don't spend a lot of time talking about the stalwarts that are making these things happen. I feel very fortunate today to have a young man that I've been watching for a number of years now. He's filling in nicely at a position that I played personally at the right tackle for the Rams. And he has been a leader of this football team for the last couple of years. And I think right now he has to be the guy when you talk about leadership on this football team. He's been healthy for the most part all season long. And I just want you guys to join me in welcoming Rob Havenstein. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me.
Glad you could join us. Vince here, Vince, he can't help but to love us because you know how it is.
I love those big protectors in front of me, man. You gotta love those guys for sure.
We keep the big guys off of him, so he was delighted to know that you were going to be joining us as well, Rob. Rob, this has been an interesting year.
Yes, it has.
You go and just kick the doors down last year and dominate the whole league, and then this year you fall upon lean times, and some of those lean times would have to be attributed to the lack of great production by the offensive line, certainly like it was a year. It wasn't what it was a year ago. One of the things that's been consistent, however, has been your performance. As a stalwart, as I said, you're doing a fantastic job with your play. But more importantly, it seems to me that your leadership has been critical as you have weathered these storms with 14 different lineups. How has that been? How taxing has that been for you this year?
Yeah, it's something that I've never really had to deal with. My whole time here with Sean, I've always had Andrew, a guy like Andrew Whitworth to kind of lean on and, have him kind of take the spotlight and everything like that. And so there's definitely a learning curve. Something that, obviously like people have leadership qualities, but there is something to refining being a leader, stepping into a different role, having a C on my chest now and being kind of, with the likes of guys of, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Bobby Wagner, like guys who've been doing it for a long time for, best of the best. And then, honestly trying to learn off of them about what it takes to be a true leader of a team, leader of an offense, leader of a defense, rather than just kind of have the guys in the room kind of know who you are, how you really lead. It may show a little bit here and there, but it's it's now truly on kind of like a team stage, and so it's definitely been a challenging year. But I think for me, it's learning from a guy like a Bobby Wagner and kind of seeing how he goes about his business, and you talk about the level, the Mr. Consistency, and that's 100% him. He showed up every single game. His juice is the same, and it's never fake. And that's one thing I've always said. You can't fake energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because when it comes,
Rob, you've got some fantastic examples of leaders on that football team. I think they strategically have been signed in part because of their leadership abilities. But don't ever let anyone tell you that performance doesn't lead as well.
Exactly.
Consistency at your job is critical, and that's what you have been. You have been very consistent at your job and done it very well. Right. One of the things that I have wondered about as I have watched you over this season, one of the things that I have wondered about is how I played with 21 different quarterbacks over the 20 years that I played, and they all had their different little idiosyncrasies that made them different, not necessarily special, but it made them different. You, this season alone, have had the unique opportunity to block for 2 first overall draft picks at the quarterback position. And I see the similarities, but there got to be some differences. Have you noticed any that make it that jumps out at you?
Yeah, I mean, Jack, you hit it right on the head. I mean, it's everyone's got little different things that they like to do, drops that they have, where they, I guess, like to drift, what happens when the play goes bad, if a guy breaks, that protection breaks down, like kind of where is their immediate reaction to go, or is it purely based on the play? And so everyone's got their different things, and obviously kind of having to jumpstart that with Baker a little bit, shook his hand on Tuesday, played on Thursday, and I think I remember
that was a whirlwind.
That was a whirlwind. I remember asking him on the sideline, I was like, hey, what's your comfortable drop? Like, where do you like to get to? And so just kind of, working that on the fly. And then you throw a John Wolford in there and having to block Bryce Perkins, obviously not first round draft picks, but still quarterbacks we played with this year. And so everyone does stuff a little differently, and everyone feels comfortable with different things. And it's really trying to take those practice reps of almost trying to manufacture a situation that'll happen in the game and kind of see how the quarterback reacts a little bit, just so you can go ahead and bank that knowledge. So when it comes nut cutting time in game, where you can kind of, exactly, or you have a good idea of where that guy's going to be.
Right. Now, Vince, I know Vince is chomping at the bits to ask you a question, Rob, and I can't help myself because I've been wondering this. But Rob, this is what going into last week, I was anticipating Baker Mayfield this, Baker Mayfield that, Baker Mayfield this, Baker Mayfield that. But you know what I got, Rob? I got Rob Havenstein pulling and inserting on the left side of the line of scrimmage. I got Rob Havenstein from the previous week running a trap that I hadn't seen him do at all. And Rob, when I saw that, my first thoughts were, this is exactly the way I think his world should be. The more variety you give Rob and his offensive line cohorts, the more variety you give them, the less predictable they are. And the more those defensive linemen have to sit there and guess. So I noticed that you guys have increased the variety of plays that you're running. Yep. And tell me, how does that free you up? Does that give you a little bit of an edge, knowing that, hey, these guys are not going to just think I'm doing the same thing over and over?
Yeah, no, 100%. Kind of opening up a little bit, presenting a couple different things, getting some gap runs going, getting some zone combinations going, getting some different traps and quick hitters, and like you said, making defenses guess. And so when they line up, they don't see a particular formation or the way we kind of align our bodies, and they know where the play's going, because that's our skill on offense, is that we know where the play's supposed to go. Right. It kind of takes our advantage away when the defense knows what's happening also. So when you can kind of keep them guessing, keep them on their toes, whether that's pulling me, wrapping around with some of our selfish young wide receivers, inserting them on gap plays, like just getting new ways to kind of run. I mean, the same plays that you were running, but it's just kind of, sprinkled in differently. So it's definitely been good and been fun. And, I haven't pulled as much in a season like this in a while.
That's the most you pulled since you've been here. I've never seen you pull it.
But it's fun.
They get you out in the perimeter on the quick toss or the pitch out there, but I've never seen you go across the other way, and it's been kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun little skill to kind of get going, and we got different ways to hit it. So it's it's all about really finding ways to get different guys the ball. And so we know if you can get a certain wide receiver, have him slash running in the middle rather than everything has to be on the sideline, or, get it back on the edge or whatever it is, it's kind of just getting our playmakers chances to go ahead and make plays. Basically.
Absolutely. Hey, Rob, I got a question for you. Sure. Jackie's always said that football's a big man's game, right? So, but I play quarterback. We're not as big as the offensive lineman, but what's gone through my mind, I'm thinking as you prepare each and every week, you've played with so many different quarterbacks with different skill sets. What's actually going through your mind in your preparation, and how do you prepare for each different quarterback that you're going to have and you have to protect for?
It's kind of exactly what Jackie hit on earlier. It's truly learning like the little idiosyncrasies that they have, where they like to be in their drops and everything like that, and taking everything you can from a walkthrough as we get later in the season. We're things aren't full speed, but we're trying to make as game-like as possible, and then taking the live reps that we get in practice and really banking that in your head. And so when you go back and watch the practice film and and you're studying for the week, you're not just watching yourself. Okay, I did this, I did that. It's like, okay, what's quarterback's run here? What's the back's track? And kind of making sure everything kind of fits in with the alignment of what you're thinking the play should look like in your head. And so if there's any deviation from that, then you come in and you store that information for later, and then maybe bring it out to the practice the next day and try to get that thing right.
And it's funny too that you mentioned the quarterbacks, because Baker Mayfield, and you mentioned you came in, you shook his hand, and all of a sudden he was on the field 2 days later, and it was just so mind-boggling because he's played so well. And in 2 days, I'm just curious, Jackie was curious too, is when he's spurting out the plays, I mean, is he spurting out something from Cleveland or something from Carolina? How did he get the terminology right to
No idea. Honestly,
you guys have to know the snap count. That's it, right?
Pretty much. I got to know direction play, if there's a second play, and and everything else kind of fades out, and then I hear a snap count. But no, he came in right away, and then I know originally we had him on a wristband, and he kind of said F that, just call the plays in, and I'll spit them out. And,
Wow.
And I'm looking at him like, how do you even know what these words mean? There's
Absolutely.
there's
Jackie,
guys
and Rob, what's so amazing though is he did most of his great work in the 2-minute drill, and you don't have time to look at your wristband. You just have to just create the play. Oh, yeah. And that was so amazing with only been there 2 days.
He took the wristband off. I mean, he was just playing, and it kind of just shows you just he's a true competitor. That's something that we have, in that room, and I'm sure there's a behind the scenes of Matthew really getting in there and working with him, because Matthew is one of the all-time truest
one of the best
that we have out there. And,
one of the best.
Oh, without a doubt, Jackie. But it's for Baker to come in, put the time in, study for 36 hours, whatever it was, something crazy, and then just the way he's progressed now, like there hasn't been I haven't heard any other terminology. Honestly, we've told him some terminology, maybe some stuff that doesn't pop up every now and again. He kind of looks at us and goes, what the hell is that? And we tell him, he's like, okay, cool, got it. And then that's what he calls it. And it's unbelievable. Guy picks up stuff very well, and he's it's been a joy to work with him so far.
Jackie, Rob plays a lot like you, man. I have to give him a lot of credit, perseverance, through this entire season. He's the last man standing, just like you and Rich Saul were. I mean, that's something you guys have in common.
What he's alluding to, Rob, was the last time the Rams went to the Super Bowl and they were in L.A. Not the last time, but back in our day when we went to the Super Bowl, that particular year, Rob, we only had 2 of our starting offensive linemen to play every game. It was myself and our center, Rich Saul. Not as bad as your situation, and certainly we didn't have the ending that you guys had, but similar situation. And it's a very tough thing. Now, one of the things that I saw, and by the way, I've been tempted to, if I didn't come across as being so biased, I would reach out to the commissioner and say, there is no way you should fine the offensive lineman of the Rams for what happened after that game, because it is clear on tape that he was just being, what's his first name?
Ode Abushi.
Yeah, Abushi. He was just being cordial. He was working. He was talking to the guy, and the guy got agitated. He worked his way over to someone he knew, and they shook one another's hands, and this guy just wouldn't leave him alone, and then he punched him. Yep. Now, what would the commissioner or anyone else, the appeals officer? I used to be the appeals officer, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
You're the fine guy, Jackie.
I was the appeals officer, but if I were the appeals officer and I looked at that, I would say I understand we don't want, they usually get the second guy. Vince is always talking about that, but there's no way that I'm going to find these guys equally after what that kid did, punching Obey. But the interesting thing about it was how quickly you jumped into the fray. You just pounded into the fray and, got things like you were going over there to take. That showed me a lot of leadership, Rob. What were you thinking at that moment?
Well, I kind of heard some rustling kind of going on after the game, and kind of looked back and, saw him kind of jawing, and usually that stuff doesn't kind of phase into anything. And then I saw, like, very clearly on tape, I saw Ode trying to walk away. And I was like, okay, that's the end of it, right? Going to the guys I played against, hey, good game, stay healthy, all that good stuff. and kind of just took a peek over someone's, getting a little rowdy, and I saw the punch, and I was like, all right, I got to go get my guy out of there.
Yeah.
And he got out of there pretty quick, and but it's I 100% agree with you. I'm glad the suspension got lifted.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. So that did both of their suspensions get lifted, or just his?
Both of their suspensions got lifted. Randy
okay.
was fined, I want to say 50,000, and O'Day 12.
Oh, okay. Well, there's some justice in that.
Yeah, there's some justice in that, but still, it's like it was very clear intent that he was trying to walk away. Hey, he was done with it. Got punched. Someone punched you in the face. You're gonna punch back.
Absolutely.
I understand. We don't want throwing punches and things like that, but it's 100%. Got my guy. O'Day's back, and it's just something that's unfortunate, and he's going to lose a little money for it. But I'm glad it did get righted in the fact that there was no suspensions being brought down upon him.
Absolutely. Vince, do you have another question? I got one last one I'm going to ask.
Well, I know. The only thing I want to ask Rob is that despite the way the season's gone, there's some light at the end of the tunnel because of the way you guys have been playing the last few games, and now you've got the Chargers to go this week. They're a really viable team contending for the playoffs. Any little special packages you think guys are gonna put in? I'm sure McVay will probably have a few things up his sleeve for this game.
Nothing I could say out there on air, but we're gonna keep.
Vince, you can't ask him to tell the plays.
Well, we got to have that insight, Jackie.
That's true. We're gonna keep on going the right way, and like you said, not that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, we're all still disappointed that our playoff chances have ended, but it's at this point of the season to where we are right now, it's about getting guys better, seeing what young guys can do, seeing if people have, that what Sean talks about all the time, that competitive greatness. And I think for some guys, they're really stepping in the light and showing that they can get out there and play and mix it up. And it's it's truly the only thing that we can do moving forward now. There's nothing else to do besides get out there, hit the practice field, try to get better. Keep working on mastering your craft, and then get out there and you're just playing for the boys at that time. I'm playing for the five guys up front, the quarterback, the whole offense, everything like that. So it's something that can kind of bring you together, and it's something that I think we're handling the right way. But obviously, we're still never satisfied with the position that we're in. It's truly not acceptable, and that's something we're going to take moving forward. But currently, where we are right now, guys showing up and showing out and putting the work in has been evident, and it showed pretty good last time.
Well, Rob, before Jackie wraps it up, I just got to tell you thanks for being on our show today, and best of luck to you the remainder of the season, and you got a great career ahead of you. Just keep up the good work, Jackie.
Awesome.
You can wind it up with this big guy.
Rob, I'm going to challenge you because you are probably 4 inches taller than I was.
Sure.
And I don't know how many, maybe 25 or 30 pounds heavier at one point in time in my weight. But this is what I see when I see you. I see a talented young guy with a lot of ability, with a lot of room for growth.
Sure.
A lot of room for growth. I would say that between my 8th and 12th years, I grew exponentially. I just kept getting better. And one of the things I want to share with you that I would encourage you to think about, I know it's totally different the way that they have you guys train in the off season and everything, but this is what, the longer you play this game, the less time off you can take.
Sure.
So relative to the weightlifting and everything, hey, give yourself a month or so and rest, and then go back and lift minuscule amounts of weight for the repetition, because it builds that density in your muscles. At least it did that for me, that I needed to have as I kept breaking down when I got older.
Sure.
So start sooner and lighter and be persistent, okay? All right, great job, man. Thanks for joining us. I'm so proud of you and how you represent the Rams and that right tackle position. I don't think there's any I trained Lane Johnson. He just ripped his stomach up, but I don't think there's very many other guys doing it any better than you, so keep it up, okay?
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Good luck, buddy.
Thank you.